My next guest says that the Rajaratnam verdict makes this case one of the most significant insider trading cases in history. Robert Heim was a former assistant regional director for the SEC. He's now a partner at Meyers Heim. Welcome to Bottom Line. Thanks. Good to see you again. Talk to me about the significance of this in terms of history.
Well, this is a very big case for the prosecutors today because with this guilty verdict, they've brought the largest case against a hedge fund manager for insider trading. And it really shown as hedge funds have become more and more important in the marketplace. Galleon was one of the largest at one time. It had $7 billion under management. And by successfully prosecuting the founder, Raj Rajaratnam, and proving insider trading against him, they've really shown that they're very serious with this crackdown on insider trading on Wall Street. And the new tactics that they're using are very successful.
Was this a seriousness that their critics said was lacking, given how long Bernard Madoff had been doing what he did, apparently with impunity?
I think absolutely. The Department of Justice was trying to send a message that they're back on the beat in terms of Wall Street fraud. They took criticism for Madoff. They took criticism for the global financial crisis and missing a lot of that. Now, with hedge fund cases being very prominent in the news, it's really their way of putting a shot across the bow and warning Wall Street that there's a new policeman on the block.
You mentioned hedge funds. Is this a wake-up call for them?
It really is. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office, insider trading is rampant on Wall Street, and the profits that could be made really explain why. So strong enforcement action is really needed for hedge fund managers.
And do we say rampant? Do we mean rampant because of the new technology that gives so many people easier access to information?
I think it's that, but also because the market has become so competitive. There's many hedge funds, there's many professional traders out there, and everybody is looking for even a small edge. So it becomes very tempting for a hedge fund manager to cross the line and to perhaps get inside information from sources that shouldn't be revealing things like earnings and productivity at companies that they're trading on.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked our other guests during this hour. Differentiate between information that is in the public domain and information that is privileged and can be considered inside information.
That's a key question, and it's something that's troubled a lot of research analysts. There's certainly clear-cut examples, for instance, earnings announcements that haven't been announced by the company yet, or even some feedback in terms of where the sales figures may be coming. But generally speaking, public information is things that are either filed in an SEC statement, announced by the company, or the subject of independent written research reports that are provided to clients. Where analysts cross the line is by talking to insiders at these companies that have duties to keep information confidential, and often this is very sensitive and critical information like sales and earnings figures.
It almost sounds like you're describing somewhat of a boiler room type setting where the competition to outdo your colleague who might sit right across from you is so great that you will cross that line because you don't want to lose your job. You want to make sure that you're continuing to have those profits roll in by whatever means necessary.
Yes, and that's exactly what the prosecutors alleged here, is that Raj Rajaratnam and the people that worked for him really crossed the line in that competition. In other words, they didn't just fairly compete, do their homework and research. They were essentially cheating on the tests. They went and they got information from company insiders that should never have been tipped to them, and they used that information to make millions of dollars in trades.
How will the defense plan their appeal in this?
It's a good question because there really aren't that many issues. I think the critical one, and probably the most important, is the judge's decision to allow the wiretap evidence into evidence. What happened originally was the judge had criticized the FBI application as being really lacking in terms of forthcomingness, and there's a whole procedure that the government has to follow in order to obtain that.
They were basically using this under the RICO statute, right?
That's right. They were using wiretaps, which are traditionally used for organized crime, to go after that.
But they considered this a criminal enterprise, I would assume, then. The logic says that must have been what they considered this to be.
Yeah, the government's argument was that originally they were investigating Raj Rajaratnam for wire fraud, which is included under that statute for allowing wiretaps.
Yes.
And that investigation then led them to securities fraud. So the government's theory is if they're investigating a covered offense, they can then use the wiretaps for things that may not necessarily be contemplated by the statute, like securities fraud.
So the other parts of the tree, the apples from from the tree, they were part of the same poisonous fruit. Is that what they're saying?
That's right. As we used to say in law school.
Watching too much Law and Order,
Yeah,
but you know what I mean, right?
Exactly. It's the fruit of the tree. The government started on a legitimate course of action, and as a result of that, uncovered other crimes that they then were able to use those wiretap evidence in support of their conviction.
The U.S. Attorney Preet Bharara mentioning in a news conference a month ago that unfortunately, and I'm not using his words, I'm paraphrasing, that this is basically the tip of the iceberg, that there's still a lot of insider trading out there, and unfortunately, this might not be the last time you're on set with me talking about something like this. How bad is it?
It's hard to say because it is a clandestine activity. It's something that's not out in the open, but clearly the Preet Bharara, the U.S. Attorney for New York City, clearly feels there's many more cases, and I think he's in a very good position to know they have cooperating witnesses that were used very effectively in the Raj Rajaratnam trial, and I suspect that they're going to be developing other cases as a result of that also.
Is the difference between the insider trading cases of the 1980s and the ones now that there are so many more tentacles because so many more people have access to information? Back in the day, it used to be just the top guys had access to this. Now you have lower level managers who also have access to information.
Yeah, it's a lot easier for that information to get out to lower level managers, and also with the result of technology like the internet, it spreads so much more quickly now. So that's why even such a little bit of inside information can go a long way towards making profits at a hedge fund.
All right, Bruce Heim joining us on set. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.